They say the people closest to us are supposed to lift us, to cheer for our victories, to hold us steady when the world shakes. But what happens when the ones we love most feel threatened by our light? When the very people meant to nurture us seem to shrink away from our growth, as if our progress is a mirror they cannot bear to look into? There is a quiet, invisible tension that creeps into homes where love is tangled with fear, control, and expectation. It whispers in subtle criticisms, in cold silences, in the weight of eyes that judge rather than celebrate. And the strangest part is, it often feels personal, like a rejection of who we are. But it is rarely about us. It is about their fear, their insecurity, their inability to see beyond the boundaries they've built around themselves. Tonight, we explore this hidden reality, the reason toxic families resist your evolution, and how to rise beyond it without guilt, without apology, and with the unshakable calm of knowing that your life belongs to you. The mirror of jealousy. Growth has a way of exposing truths, not just about ourselves, but about everyone around us. When you begin to rise, when you step into your potential and embrace the person you are meant to be, it acts like a mirror. And this mirror, though intended to reflect your strength, inadvertently reflects the gaps in others, the unfulfilled dreams, the fears, the compromises they have accepted. Toxic families, those who have clung to patterns of limitation and control, cannot bear to see these reflections. Your achievements, your clarity, your courage, they see it as a challenge, not an inspiration. They are confronted with a silent truth. While you move forward, they remain in the confines of what they have always known. And that realization stings. It is not your growth that is wrong. It is their discomfort, their jealousy, their inability to reconcile the success of someone they thought they could define or contain. This jealousy is subtle. It does not always roar in words or actions. Often it whispers in the quiet corners of family gatherings, in offhand remarks, in the half smiles that carry the weight of judgment. You've changed, they might say, as if evolution itself is a crime. You think you're better than us, they might imply, though it is rarely about superiority. It is about the fear of being left behind. When you step into your purpose, when you claim your vision, it illuminates the shadow of what they have avoided facing in themselves. And in that illumination, there is discomfort, there is resistance, and there is often an unconscious desire to pull you back into the shadows where they still reside. Recognizing this dynamic is essential, understanding that their resistance is not about your worth but about their insecurities is liberating. It allows you to rise without guilt, without the need for validation, without the illusion that their disapproval defines you. You begin to see that their criticism, their withdrawal, even their attempts to manipulate are simply the echoes of their own limitations. And this is where true power lies, not in confrontation, not in anger, but in awareness. You can move forward knowing that your light is not meant to dim in order to comfort someone else. Your growth is a testament to what is possible, a quiet but undeniable challenge to the inertia around you. The mirror of jealousy is uncomfortable because it forces honesty, not just for them, but for you as well. It asks you to reflect on why you seek approval, why their reactions matter, and why their inability to celebrate your success can pierce you so deeply. In that reflection, you find freedom. You realize that your progress is yours alone, that your dreams are valid, and that your family's fear of your evolution is their responsibility, not yours. Standing in that truth, you walk forward with calm certainty. You rise not in defiance, but in serene inevitability, allowing their discomfort to exist without letting it dictate your path. Your growth will always be a mirror, and the choice is yours, whether to fear it, dim it, or step into it fully, knowing that the jealousy it reflects is a reflection of their limitations, not a judgment of your worth. And in stepping fully into yourself, you do something more profound than succeed. You quietly reveal the courage to rise, no matter who wishes you stayed small. Fear of losing control. One of the most insidious reasons toxic families resist your growth is fear, a fear rooted not in danger, but in loss. When you begin to define your life on your own terms, when you make choices that honor your dreams and your integrity, you are asserting something they have never had the courage to claim: autonomy. And for those who have grown accustomed to shaping, directing, or controlling your path, this independence is threatening. It shakes the foundations of the authority they believe they hold over you, and with that shake comes tension, subtle resistance, and sometimes quiet attempts to pull you back. This fear of losing control is rarely spoken aloud. It doesn't need to be. It reveals itself in small acts: an abrupt comment, a lingering question, a gaze that seems to measure you against a standard you never agreed to. What is remarkable, though, is that their attempts are often more about themselves than about you. They are confronted with the reality that the safety nets, the rules, the limits they imposed were never really about guidance. They were about control. Your growth exposes this truth, and the revelation is uncomfortable. Suddenly, the roles they have played for years, protector, advisor, enforcer, become obsolete. They are no longer the center of influence in your story. And in that loss of influence, fear arises. They may attempt to guilt you, question your motives, or even subtly manipulate your choices, hoping to reassert the dominance they feel slipping away. But this is the paradox of growth. It does not bend to fear, it does not yield to resistance, and it cannot be contained by the discomfort of others. Understanding this fear transforms how you respond. You begin to see that their resistance is a reflection of their own insecurities, not a judgment of your path. Their attempts to control, to diminish, to redirect are born from a place of panic. They are holding on to the familiar because the unknown terrifies them. And yet your growth is the declaration that the unknown can be embraced, that independence is not rebellion, and that self-realization is not a threat. In facing their fear without surrendering your truth, you cultivate a quiet power. You learn to navigate the tension with grace, to honor your boundaries, and to rise without anger, knowing that their fear is a shadow, not a barrier. The fear of losing control is a subtle kind of violence, one that masquerades as concern or advice, but at its core, it is a response to change. And here lies the lesson: no one's discomfort can dictate your journey. By asserting your autonomy, by standing firm in your choices, you illuminate the path of self-determination, not in defiance, but in clarity. You show that growth is not an act of disrespect, but an inevitable unfolding of what was always meant to be. In the end, the ones who fear losing control teach you something vital: that your life is yours alone, that your decisions, your dreams, and your evolution are not permissions to be granted. They are rights to be claimed. And in claiming them fully, you do not provoke malice. You provoke recognition of the courage it takes to step into yourself completely. The shadow of old patterns. Toxic families often live bound to patterns, rituals of criticism, blame, silence, or subtle manipulation that have been passed down, unexamined, from one generation to another. These patterns become comfort zones, invisible cages in which they have learned to exist. And when you begin to grow, when you dare to step beyond those invisible walls, your evolution becomes a threat to the very foundation of their familiar world. Every achievement, every new idea, every act of self-assertion you display highlights what they have neglected, avoided, or rejected in themselves. Your growth is not just your own. It is a reflection of the possibilities they once had and never seized. And in that reflection, there is discomfort, there is resistance, and sometimes there is a subtle effort to pull you back, to keep you inside the loops they have always known. This resistance often wears many faces. It may appear as concern for your decisions, as worry about your independence, or as repeated reminders of the way things have always been done. It is rarely overt. It whispers in casual remarks, in pauses pregnant with judgment, in conversations that circle back to past failures or family expectations. These patterns are shadows, and shadows are tricky. They seem passive, harmless even, but they are designed to maintain control. They are invisible threads that tug at you, questioning your choices, your priorities, and even the very idea that you can be different. They hope to remind you that comfort lies in conformity, that safety exists only within the boundaries they have drawn, and that deviation is dangerous. Understanding these old patterns is essential for your survival and your growth. They are not a reflection of your worth nor a measure of your potential. They are a measure of their fear. Recognizing this allows you to step away without guilt, to observe without absorbing, and to continue forward without allowing their chains to bind your movement. Your evolution is not a betrayal of them, it is a fulfillment of the life you are meant to live. And the more you understand that, the more clarity you gain, the more strength you cultivate to resist being drawn back into familiar cycles that no longer serve you. The shadow of old patterns also carries a quiet lesson that change is uncomfortable, not just for you, but for everyone who has grown accustomed to predictability. As you break free, you are not merely stepping into your own potential, you are also forcing others to confront the stagnation in their lives. And this confrontation often manifests as subtle friction, disappointment, or attempts to sow doubt. But your growth need not be stifled by the discomfort it causes in others. In fact, the presence of resistance becomes a compass, a guidepost that confirms the significance of your progress. The more tension you encounter, the more vital and transformative your journey becomes. Ultimately, the shadow of old patterns is not an obstacle, it is an invitation. It asks you to recognize the limits imposed on you, to honor your own desires, and to rise beyond the familiar cycles that others cling to. In stepping out of the shadows, you assert that life is not meant to be a repetition of inherited fears. You claim your own path, your own rhythm, and your own truth, allowing the light of your growth to shine even where the past seeks to hold you back. The pain of reflection. Growth has a strange way of forcing reflection, not just within ourselves, but in those around us. When you step into your power, when you claim your ambitions, when you embrace your own potential with quiet certainty, you become a mirror for the people who raised you. And in that mirror, they are confronted with truths they may have avoided for decades. They see the roads not taken, the dreams set aside, the fears that dictated their choices. And while you might expect celebration, they often respond with unease, subtle tension, or even criticism. Their discomfort is not born from malice, it is born from pain. Pain that arises because your growth exposes the contrast between what they dreamed for themselves and what they achieved, between who they wanted to be and who they allowed themselves to become. This reflection can be profoundly destabilizing for them. They might whisper doubts, question your motives, or silently withdraw. Every success of yours is a quiet illumination of their own unresolved regrets. And yet, this should not deter you from moving forward. Your evolution is not meant to soothe their insecurities. It is meant to fulfill your purpose. The paradox is simple but profound. The more you thrive, the more they are forced to look inward. And while they might wish to avoid that pain, it is the mirror you hold up that allows them the opportunity for self-examination, even if they resist it. Understanding this dynamic transforms the way you approach their reactions. You begin to see that criticism is rarely about you, and approval is rarely necessary to validate your path. There is a subtle beauty in this painful reflection. It teaches patience, detachment, and empathy. You learn that the unease of others is a reflection of their own unresolved struggles, not a reflection of your worth. You witness their shadow without stepping into it, observing their discomfort without absorbing it. You begin to carry your success with quiet dignity, allowing your achievements to stand as testaments to what is possible when fear is faced, when boundaries are honored, and when growth is pursued relentlessly. And in doing so, you demonstrate to yourself and to anyone watching that personal evolution is not dependent on approval, celebration, or validation from those who cannot see their own potential. The pain of reflection also comes with a choice. You can allow their discomfort to intimidate you, to weigh you down, to make you second-guess your dreams. Or you can rise above it, understanding that their reaction is a byproduct of your courage, not a barrier to it. You can hold your boundaries firm, speak your truth calmly, and walk steadily in the knowledge that your growth is necessary, inevitable, and non-negotiable. Their inability to reconcile their past with your present is their burden, not yours. Ultimately, the pain of reflection teaches a profound truth. Your evolution will always challenge those who cling to fear, regret, and limitation. but their challenge is not a judgment. It is a reflection of their own journey. And when you accept that, you rise with clarity, with purpose, and with the quiet, unshakable power of someone who understands that true growth cannot be contained, diminished, or defined by anyone but yourself. The liberation of boundaries. Growth is not merely about achieving, it is about protecting. It is about knowing that every step forward requires space, clarity, and energy unclaimed by others. For those who have lived within toxic family systems, this is often the hardest lesson: the courage to create boundaries. Boundaries are not walls built from anger. They are quiet lines drawn in respect for your own life. They are declarations that your time, your dreams, and your well-being are yours to guard. And yet, when you begin to enforce them, resistance often arises. Toxic families, accustomed to access, influence, or control, may push back, question your decisions, or make subtle attempts to test the limits you set. But these challenges are not indications that you are wrong. They are indications that you are stepping into the power that has always been yours. Boundaries are liberating because they redefine relationships on your terms. They clarify what is acceptable and what is not, what will nourish your growth and what will hinder it. When you create them, you take responsibility for your life rather than allowing others' fears, insecurities, or patterns of control to dictate your choices. This act, quiet though it may seem, is revolutionary. It signals that your peace is not negotiable, that your evolution is non-negotiable, and that your presence in your own life cannot be compromised. And as you hold these boundaries with calm resolve, you notice a remarkable transformation, not only in yourself, but in how others respond. Those who respect your growth rise with you, and those who cannot slowly reveal themselves. This revelation, though sometimes painful, is necessary. It teaches you who is worthy of your energy and who is not. The liberation of boundaries also allows you to exist in your truth without guilt. For years, you may have sacrificed yourself for approval, bending to expectations that were never yours. Growth requires a different kind of courage, the courage to honor your needs, to speak your truth calmly, and to step away from any dynamic that threatens your peace. This is not rebellion, it is responsibility. It is the understanding that your life is sacred and that protection of your energy is not optional but essential. When you embrace this, you experience a freedom unlike any other. A freedom that allows you to thrive without apology, to rise without fear, and to create a life aligned with your values and your vision. Boundaries also teach resilience. Every test of your limits is a chance to strengthen your resolve, to reaffirm your commitment to yourself, and to practice the art of gentle yet firm self-assertion. You discover that liberation is not chaos, it is order, a disciplined respect for yourself that no one can take away, and in that space, your growth is unstoppable. You move forward with clarity, with focus, and with the quiet certainty that your life belongs to you and no one else. In the end, boundaries are the ultimate act of love, not for others, but for yourself. They allow you to rise above toxic dynamics, to honor your potential, and to live a life free from the invisible chains that have bound you. They are the foundation on which your growth can flourish, unshaken, unstoppable, and unapologetically true to who you are. In setting them, you step fully into yourself, and nothing in the world can diminish the power of that choice.